The rain came down in long silver sheets, turning Main Street into a river of broken neon reflections. Sheriff's Deputy Owen Hale leaned on the counter of the Hollow Creek police station, sipping cold coffee that had been reheated too many times. The quiet had the weight of something unnatural, the kind that makes even a clock tick too loudly. At 2:17 a.m., the station door creaked open. A girl, barefoot, bleeding from the arm, stumbled inside. Behind her padded a German shepherd, ribs showing, eyes watchful. She whispered something that made Owen set down his cup and forget to breathe. The girl couldn't have been older than 17. Mud streaked her face. Her lips trembled blue from rain, and her dress was torn at the hem like she'd sprinted through barbed wire. The dog stayed pressed at her side, every step a shield. Owen straightened, the chair leg scraping against the tile. "Miss," his voice cracked the silence. "You hurt bad." She raised her eyes, and for a flicker, he saw more than fear in them. There was calculation, too, like she was deciding whether to trust him or bolt back into the night. Her knees buckled. Owen crossed the room, catching her under the arms before she collapsed. The dog growled low, throat vibrating, but didn't bite. Its eyes locked with Owen's, warning him. "It's okay," Owen murmured, lowering her carefully into one of the station's hardback chairs. "I'm not going to hurt her." The girl clutched Owen's sleeve with surprising strength. Her voice came out as a rasp. "They're not dead like you think." Her head sagged forward, unconscious. For a moment, all Owen could hear was the hiss of rain against the windows. The words coiled inside his mind. "They're not dead." Who wasn't dead? He'd worked missing persons in Hollow Creek for 12 years. Runaways, domestic disputes, hunters gone too far into the woods. He'd signed off on more than one tragic body recovery. But this girl, she didn't look like she crawled out an ordinary crime scene. Owen laid her against a chair, careful with her arm. The cut was deep but not lethal, probably from something jagged, fence wire or broken glass. He went to grab the first aid kit, but the dog blocked him with a sudden step, nose twitching, chest tight with warning. Owen froze. Slowly, he crouched down, eyes level with the animal. "Easy, boy. I'm just trying to patch her up." The shepherd's tail gave a single uncertain flick. His ribs showed under his fur, suggesting days without food. He wasn't a pet from around here. Hollow Creek was too small. Everyone knew everyone's dogs. "Where the hell did you two crawl out from?" Owen muttered. He cleaned the girl's wound under the dog's watchful eyes. By the time he taped the dressing over it, she stirred again. "What's your name?" he asked. Her lashes fluttered, then steadied on him. "Lila." "Lila what?" She hesitated. "Doesn't matter. They'll find me if I say." "Who's they?" Lila's gaze darted to the dog, then back at the rain outside. She whispered, "The ones who took them. The ones who said nobody would believe." A chill traced Owen's spine. He knew the kind of trouble kids sometimes ran from: drunk fathers, meth-head uncles, shady boyfriends. But there was something bigger in her words. "All right," Owen said gently. "You came here for help, didn't you? You got to give me more than riddles." Lila shook her head violently, strands of wet hair slapping her cheeks. "If I talk too loud, they'll hear." The station phone rang then, sharp and sudden. Both Lila and the dog flinched. Owen picked it up. "Hollow Creek PD, Deputy Hale." Static crackled on the line, followed by a voice so faint it barely carried. "You shouldn't have her there." Owen's fingers tightened on the receiver. "Who is this?" The line went dead. For the first time in years, Owen felt the station's walls pressing in, as if someone outside already knew what was happening inside. He glanced at Lila. Her hands were trembling, her eyes darting to the shadows. "What did you whisper when you came in?" he asked carefully. She blinked, confused, then remembered. "They're not dead like you think." "Who?" She drew in a shaking breath. "The kids. The ones everyone said drowned in the quarry last summer. They didn't." Owen's pulse kicked. The quarry incident had been the kind of tragedy that seared itself into a town's memory. For teenagers gone during a midnight swim, bodies recovered days later, closed case. Owen himself had helped drag them out. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said, though his own voice sounded hollow. I was there. They weren't them, Lila whispered. Not the real ones. They switched them. Her words landed like ice water. Owen wanted to dismiss her as shock-crazed, a runaway making up wild stories. But something in her stare rooted him, the raw certainty of someone who'd seen too much. The station door rattled. Owen's hand went to his holster automatically. He moved the window, peering through the rain-streaked glass. Nothing but the glow of the streetlight, the empty lot across the road, and darkness beyond. When he turned back, Lila was standing now. Swaying slightly, the dog pressed to her leg. "You can't keep me here," she said, voice shaking. "They'll come." "Who?" Her lips formed the word before sound followed. The men from under the quarry. The air seemed to thin around them. Owen's throat tightened. Lila looked so frail, a slip of a girl who should be home with family instead of bleeding on a police station floor. Yet her words carried a weight that pressed against his chest. He tried logic. "Lila, those kids were found by divers. Medical examiner confirmed it. Families buried them." "No," her eyes glistened with tears now. "They buried bodies, but not theirs. I saw them alive in the tunnels. I saw what the men were doing." "What tunnels?" "The quarry isn't just a quarry." Her voice broke. "There's something under it. Something they don't want anyone to know." The dog let out a low, uneasy whine, as if agreeing. Before Owen could press her further, headlights swept across the station wall. A vehicle rolled up outside, engine rumbling low. Lila's face drained of color. She clutched the dog's scruff. "They found me." Owen's hand hovered near his gun again. "Stay here," he said, though his gut screamed it was already too late. Through the rain, a black pickup idled outside, its license plate slick with mud, unreadable. The driver didn't get out, just sat there, engine ticking, watching. Owen's radio crackled suddenly with a voice he hadn't heard in months. "Hale, you've got something that belongs to us." Lila gasped, hand over her mouth. The dog growled, low and ready. Owen's chest tightened. He had two choices: step outside and face whoever was waiting, or bolt the doors and prepare for a siege. Either way, the quiet town of Hollow Creek had just woken up to a secret it wasn't ready for. Rain drummed against the windows, harder now, like fists beating on glass. Owen Hale stood in the middle of the station, pulse thundering, eyes locked on the black pickup idling outside. The driver's silhouette was a dark shape behind the wet windshield. Motionless, waiting. Lila whispered, "Don't open that door." Her hand clutched the German shepherd's collar, so tightly her knuckles went white. Owen's thumb brushed the safety on his pistol. He'd been through standoffs before, drunks with shotguns, desperate thieves, but never with a bleeding girl at his back whispering about tunnels under a quarry. "Sit tight," he said, though his gut twisted at his own words. The station phone rang again, a shrill, metallic scream cutting through the rain. Owen grabbed it. Hollow Creek, PD. A man's voice, low and steady. "You've got something that doesn't belong to you." Owen's knuckles whitened around the receiver. "You want to tell me who the hell this is?" The man chuckled softly. "You wouldn't believe me if I did." The line clicked dead. The pickup outside pulled away, taillights bleeding red through the storm. But relief never came. If anything, the silence that followed was worse. Owen set the receiver down, jaw tight. He turned back to Lila. "All right, you're going to tell me exactly what happened out there. Start at the beginning." She shook her head violently, eyes filling with tears. "I can't. If I say too much, they'll know. They always know." "You want me to help you? You want me to keep you safe? Then talk to me, Lila." The shepherd barked once, sharp, startling them both. It wasn't random. The dog was warning, urging. Lila flinched, then straightened a little, as if the bark stiffened her spine. "They take kids," she whispered. "They tell the town they drowned or ran away or OD'd. But I saw them. Down there. Alive. They're using them." "Using them how?" Her voice cracked. "Work. Experiments. I don't know. I just know they don't come back the same." Owen's mouth went dry. "Where are these tunnels?" She wiped her sleeve across her wet face. "Under the quarry. There's an old shaft behind the south fence. Everyone thinks it collapsed, but it didn't. That's how they take them down. Owen's pulse hammered. The quarry had always been a sore spot in Hollow Creek, closed after 3 workers died in a cave-in 15 years ago. But locals still trespassed, teens daring each other to swim at night. He'd always figured it was just kids being kids. Now he wasn't so sure. The radio on his shoulder crackled. "Hale? You there?" It was Sheriff Dalton. Owen pressed the mic. "Yeah, I'm here. Got a call about noise down at your station. Everything all right?" Owen's eyes flicked to Lila. She shook her head desperately, mouthing, "Don't tell him." Owen hesitated. Thumb hovering over the mic, Sheriff Dalton had been his boss for a decade, a man he'd trusted through good years and bad. But the look in Lila's eyes, terror mixed with certainty, tugged at something deeper. Finally, Owen pressed down. "All quiet here, Sheriff. Just the storm rattling windows." Dalton paused on the other end. Then, "All right, get some rest. Hale, storm's not letting up tonight." The line went dead. Owen lowered the mic, throat tight. Lila had already sunk back against the chair, relief flooding her features. "You can't trust him," she whispered. "Not him. Not anyone wearing that badge, but you." For the first time, Owen felt the weight of his own uniform like a burden instead of a shield. He rubbed his jaw, staring at the floor tiles. He'd worn the star to keep Hollow Creek safe, but maybe it was nothing more than a blindfold. "You said you saw the kids. When?" 3 nights ago." Her voice trembled. "I followed the men when they came for Tyler. He lives on my street. I tried to stop them, but..." She touched the bloody bandage on her arm. "The dog saved me. He bit one, drove him off, but they saw me. They've been hunting us since." The dog's ears twitched at his name unspoken, as though he knew his role was understood. Owen crouched in front of Lila. "You got proof? Anything besides your word?" Her hand slipped into the pocket of her torn dress. She pulled out a small object, wrapped in a piece of cloth. Slowly, she placed it in Owen's palm. It was a phone, cracked, half dead. Owen pressed the power button. The screen flickered weakly, showing a single save video file. He tapped it. The image was grainy, dark, shot from a hiding place. But the audio chilled him before the picture even cleared. Muffled screams. A boy's voice begging. Chains clinking. The video showed a cavern lit by bare bulbs strung along rock walls. Kids, no older than 16, were shackled, moving in line, carrying crates deeper into shadow. Men in dark jackets watched with rifles slung over shoulders. Owen's throat closed. He recognized one of the kids. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "That's Eddie Mullins. He was buried last summer." Lila's eyes filled. "I told you." The station lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then went out. The room plunged into darkness. The shepherd barked furiously, nails scraping the tile. "Stay low." Owen hissed, yanking his flashlight from his belt. He flicked it on, the beam slicing through the dark. A crash sounded at the back door. Then another. They weren't waiting anymore. Owen grabbed Lila's hand, dragging her toward the side exit. "We're not staying here." The shepherd pressed against them, ready, growling deep. They burst into the rain, sprinting across the lot. Owen shoved Lila into his cruiser, the dog leaping in after her. He slammed the driver's door just as the station's front windows shattered behind them. Headlights flared in the rear-view mirror. The black pickup again, roaring to life. Owen threw the cruiser into gear, tires screaming against wet asphalt. "Hold on." They shot down Main Street, rain blurring everything into streaks of color. Lila clung to the seatbelt, eyes wide. "They won't stop. Not until I'm gone. They'll have to go through me first." Owen's jaw clenched. But even as he said it, a darker thought gnawed at him. If Dalton was part of this, who else in town was too? The pickup stayed close, its engine growling like a predator. "Where's the quarry in trance?" Owen demanded. Lila pointed with a trembling hand. "South Road, past Miller's farm. There's a service gate." Owen swung the cruiser left, water spraying up from potholes. The pickup followed. The road narrowed. trees closing in. Rain whipped across the windshield. Suddenly, Lila screamed, "Look out!" Owen's eyes snapped forward. Two figures standing in the middle of the road, holding flares. He slammed the brakes. The cruiser skidded sideways, tires screaming. The shepherd lunged against the glass, barking savagely. The figures didn't flinch. They stepped closer, flares hissing red. Behind them, more headlights appeared. Two trucks, blocking the road. They were trapped. Owen's grip tightened on the wheel. His mind raced. The girl's words echoed in his head. "You can't trust anyone but you." And in that moment, with the rain hammering, the engines growling, and the shepherd's growls vibrating through the car, Owen realized Hollow Creek wasn't just hiding a secret. It was defending it. The cruiser's engine idled in the rain, caught in a cage of headlights and flares. Owen Hale's hand stayed locked on the wheel, sweat rolling cold despite the storm's chill. The two men holding flares stepped closer, faces half hidden by hoods, rifles slung on their shoulders. They didn't look like drunks or farmhands. They moved like soldiers. Lila gripped the shepherd's collar, her whisper sharp in Owen's ear. "If they get me, you'll never see the truth. Drive. They'll shoot. They'll shoot anyway." The shepherd barked, fierce, echoing her words. Owen made his choice. He slammed the cruiser into reverse. Tires screamed. Water exploded behind them. The pickup that had been tailing them roared closer, headlights flooding the cab. Owen cranked the wheel hard, sliding the cruiser sideways into the tree lean. Branches whipped the windshield. Gunshots cracked, bullets tearing glass, punching into metal. Lila screamed, covering her head. The shepherd lunged against the window, teeth bared. But the cruiser kept moving, engine howling, until finally the gunfire faded behind them. They didn't stop until the road narrowed into gravel, mud spraying from the tires. Miller's farm sat in darkness on their left, nothing but skeletal barns and broken fences. Lila pointed ahead with a trembling finger. "The gate there." A rusted chain-link barrier leaned against the storm, topped with old barbed wire. A weather-faded sign read, "Danger." Shaft collapsed. "Keep out." Owen braked hard, mud sucking at the tires. "This where you saw them?" She nodded, lips pale. He shoved the gear into park, unholstered his pistol, and turned to her. "Stay close. Don't talk unless I say." The shepherd growled once, as if promising obedience. Owen shoved the gate open. Its hinges screamed, swallowed by thunder. Together, the three slipped inside. The quarry yawned ahead, black cliffs plunging into a pool of rainwater that shimmered with lightning's reflection. But Lila ignored the pool, tugging Owen toward a collapsed slope at the far edge. Rocks tumbled under their feet, slick with moss. She crouched, prying aside a half-buried metal sheet. Behind it gaped a hole. Not natural. A shaft. Cold air breathed out of it, smelling of iron, mildew, and something faintly rotten. Lila's eyes burned in the flashlight beam. This is where they took them. The shepherd whined softly, then stepped forward first, as if willing to descend before either human dared. Owen stared at the dark hole, heart hammering. He thought of Eddie Mullins of the grainy video, of the town he'd sworn to protect. And then he followed. The shaft sloped downward, walls lined with old timber beams slick with mold. Owen's boots slipped on the damp stone. Water dripped in steady rhythms, echoing like distant footsteps. The shepherd padded ahead, ears pricked, silent now except for the soft scuff of his claws. They reached a cavern that opened wide, ceiling lost in shadow. Bare bulbs dangled from wires strung across beams, just like in the video. And then voices. Owen killed the flashlight. He and Lila pressed into the wall, hearts thundering. Below, through the dim glow of bulbs, figures moved. Teenagers, a dozen of them at least, hauling crates, dragging sacks, moving under the eyes of armed men. Shackles clinked with each step. Lila's breath hitched. "That's them," she whispered. "Those are the drowned ones." Owen recognized faces. Kids who had funerals, whose parents wept at graves. Alive. Hollow-eyed. His stomach turned. "What the hell are they doing?" he whispered. Before Lila could answer, another voice echoed through the cavern. One Owen knew. Move them quicker. Shipment leaves at dawn. Sheriff Dalton. Owen froze, blood icing in his veins. Dalton stepped into the light, raincoat dripping, hat pulled low. He carried a clipboard, barking orders like a foreman. The kids shuffled faster under his gaze. Lila's nails dug into Owen's sleeve. I told you, you can't trust him. Owen swallowed hard, every fiber in him screaming betrayal. Dalton had baptized his son, stood beside him at his wife's funeral. Now he was here, trading children like cattle. A sound behind him made Owen whip around, gravel crunching. Too late. Flashlight beams sliced across the cavern, pinning them. Don't move, hell, a voice growled. Owen raised his pistol, but rifles already gleamed from the shadows. Lila whimpered, clutching the shepherd. Dalton's voice boomed. Bring them down. Men closed in, forcing them into the cavern. The shepherd snarled, teeth flashing, but one man leveled a shotgun at his chest. Owen grabbed the collar. Easy, boy. Dalton approached, boots crunching on gravel. His face was calm, even kind, like a father catching a son sneaking out. Damn it. Owen, he said softly, I told you to get some rest. Owen spat the words. You sick bastard. You been selling them? Dalton's smile didn't waver. Not selling. Preserving. Hollow Creek survives because of this. We give them what they want, and in return, the town gets left alone. What they want? Dalton's eyes glinted. Labor. Experiments. Call it what you want. It keeps the real monsters out of Hollow Creek. Owen shook his head, bow rising. You're insane. Dalton leaned closer, voice low. No, Owen. I'm practical. And you're about to become practical too. He nodded at Lila. Hand her over. The shepherd snarled, muscles trembling against Owen's grip. Lila shook her head, tears streaming. Owen raised his gun again, though he knew it was useless against the rifles circling them. His finger hovered on the trigger. Dalton's voice hardened. Choose, hell. Her or the dog. The standoff stretched. Rainwater dripped from the cavern ceiling, echoing like a clock counting down. Owen's hand shook. He had minutes, seconds to decide. The shepherd's growl deepened. Lila's sob choked the silence. Then Owen made his move. He turned the gun on Dalton and fired. The shot cracked like thunder. Dalton stumbled, clutching his shoulder. Shouts erupted. The cavern exploded into chaos. The shepherd lunged, teeth sinking into a guard's arm. Lila bolted toward the line of shackled kids, screaming at them to run. Owen dove for cover, firing again, another guard dropping. Bullets whined off stone, sparks flying. Dalton's voice bellowed, Kill them all! What followed blurred into fire and noise. Kids breaking chains, scrambling into tunnels. Guards firing wildly, shadows jerking in bulb light. The shepherd fought like a creature possessed, dragging men down in snarling fury. Owen emptied his clip, blood roaring in his ears. Lila clung to his sleeve, dragging him toward the shaft. Come on. Dalton's voice cut through the chaos, ragged but furious. Owen, you betray me, you betray the whole town. Owen hesitated just long enough to see Dalton's face one last time, twisted with hate, blood soaking his shirt. Then he turned his back and ran. They burst out into the storm, kids scattering into the woods like wild birds freed from cages. The shepherd limped beside them, bleeding but alive, tail high. Owen shoved Lila into the cruiser, cranking the engine with shaking hands. Sirens began to rise in the distance. Not rescue, reinforcements. Dalton's men. Owen floored it, tires spitting mud. They tore down back roads, headlights cutting through sheets of rain, until finally, the town's lights faded behind them. Hours later, they pulled into the empty shell of an abandoned ranger station up in the hills. Owen killed the engine. Silence pressed in, broken only by rain dripping through holes in the roof. The kids huddled together, shivering. Lila sat with them, bandaged arm limp, the shepherd's head resting in her lap. Owen leaned against the wall, body aching, so heavier than it had ever been. Lila lifted her eyes. What now? Owen stared into the dark. Now we tell the world, even if it kills us. The shepherd thumped his tail once, as if agreeing. Morning crept gray and cold through the broken windows. Rain had stopped. The kids slept, huddled in borrowed blankets. Lila dozed too, her hand still buried in the shepherd's fur. Owen stood outside, watching fog curl over the hills. His badge weighed in his pocket like a stone. He would never wear it again, not after what he'd seen. Hollow Creek would never forgive him, but maybe, just maybe, the kids would survive to see something better. Behind him, the shepherd barked once at the dawn, quiet but strong. The sound carried like a promise.